Breaking today, Prince Harry under dramatic financial pressure after his devastating courtroom loss to the Daily Mail, as Elton John, the one man with enough money to save this guy, finally says enough. Finally says, no, Duke, I'm not your bank. This incredible reporting coming from Paula Froelich of Paula Froelich Uncensored. She is going to reveal all of the astonishing inside story behind this. But first, let me just take you through what she has revealed. Because
joining me now is award-winning journalist and New York Times best-selling author Paula Froelich. Paula, wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got to start with Prince Harry. I think he's had one of his most diabolical weeks in living memory. So he's lost this court case, his obsession, his vendetta against the press. He's now gone over to London. He's lost this, and he's now potentially up for tens of millions of dollars in legal fees. And there are also reports he might get bailed out by Elton John, that the singer may end up having to pay for his fees. Paula, is this the ultimate low for Harry? Can't pay his own way and has to beg friends for help?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, Danica. It's really, he used to have the Bank of England and now he's got the Bank of Elton. But, I've reported Elton is actually quite upset with Harry for several reasons. Number one, Harry needs a lot of money for Invictus. The only reason he went to England this summer is to raise funds for Invictus Birmingham 2027. He is 25 million pounds short. He has 4 million from corporates and anonymous donors. He needs 25 million more. And this was supposed to be a big triumphant return. He was going to go glad hand people and really get them to open their wallets. They're not. So I have been told that he actually has asked Elton to give him some money for Invictus. Elton has said no, because this court case is such a big deal now. He asked Elton before the judge came down with the ruling, but Elton kind of saw where the wind was blowing, and he was like, because as the Times of London said, Elton and Harry assured everyone else they would take care of the fees. But Harry doesn't have that money. But Harry also kind of stuck the knife in when he gave his statement to the press. It was rushed, it was hurried, it was a huge tantrum. He basically said that Justice Nicklin was corrupt and involved in a whitewashing of the system and didn't do his job properly. This is a huge problem, Danica, because the judge can also decide what the damages are and if he can lift a cap. And that's not happening until the end of July. And Elton is said to be furious, because this will likely cost Elton millions and millions more.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, how dumb, can Harry be as well, calling it a whitewash as if there was some sort of ulterior motive by a judge. This is how dumb he is. This is how childish and juvenile. It's giving man-child, to be quite honest. It's really
It's also making people call for him to get his titles removed. The Times of London also did an op-ed where they said he should not be representing at all regarding England, because the court is at His Majesty's leisure. That is the king. And technically, Harry can still technically step in for the king now.
Yeah, which would be an absolute disaster, if that was to ever happen. Look, let's talk about the tour itself. So Harry and Meghan and the two children, they have indeed met with King Charles during, it was an on-again, off-again tour. Nobody knew whether Meghan and the kids would come, and Harry went solo. It's been a debacle from the beginning. So this meeting was in private. It's the first reunion in 4 years. I'd be worried if they didn't have some sort of ulterior device maybe strapped to them, getting some new material for another series. But interestingly, Paula, Prince William was not there. He has not been part of any reunion thus far during this trip. What does that tell you?
Well, William wants nothing to do with Harry or Meghan ever again. He's done. And the thing is, Meghan and the children were always going to come. Despite their proclamations, they had to come. Meghan had to bring the children. Meghan needs to be seen as royal again. Harry needs to see his father. There's no way the king would have set aside time if the children had not been there, and they both knew that. So it was always going to happen, regardless of what they said. And what they said was really, once again, a manipulation of trying to get full-time security paid for by Ravik. And by the way, Harry sued to get his security back, lost, and owes about £1 million for that court case as well.
So Prince Harry is apparently upset with Elton John because they were all in this lawsuit against the Daily Mail UK because they thought they were hacked. They thought their privacy was invaded. And I thought, this is really rich for Prince Harry to say he wants privacy when he wrote about his male appendage in his book, right? He's written about every nook and cranny of his life. He's also still doing that. We'll get to that in a minute. We have a clip. But Prince Harry, of course, he lost this lawsuit. And in the UK, you got to pay damages. You usually have to pay the other side's legal fees. Prince Harry could be on the hook for tens of millions of dollars, okay? And I don't care how many flower sprinkles or wickless candles his wife sells, there's no way you're making that kind of money. In fact, I think I'm one of the only people who has bought these products. But nonetheless, Prince Harry is upset with Elton John because he thinks he should give him the cash. Let me read you. So Sky News is reporting Elton John has grown tired of Prince Harry, as reports say that he has asked Elton John to help pay his legal fees and fund some of the Invictus Games, as funding is said to have fallen through and he's £25 million short. An insider also claimed Harry believed Elton had a responsibility to help because he introduced him to his lawyer, David Sherborne. Harry feels John brought him into this whole lawsuit and therefore should help him out with Invictus. Elton is not a bank. Elton said no, and Harry was very hurt. I could have told you this. Number one, Prince Harry, you are a spoiled brat. None of us expect other people to come along and pay our bills, okay? We got to get up here and work. I got to sell cowboy colostrum. We don't expect people to come along and just make our lives hunky-dory. We're in the driver's seat. Prince Harry is in his 40s. And you're still crawling around begging like this little prince beggar, please give me money, I want money. It's like this spoiled bitch brat stuff that I'm getting so sick of. It's like, any alms, please? My name is Oliver Twist. It's like, Oliver Harry, help me, please. Like, it's just so pathetic. You're like little
The man who
humpy.
performed at his wedding just told him no.
Authentic,
Not a sympathetic explanation about financial pressures or scheduling conflicts, or the complexity of long-term friendships, navigating difficult circumstances. According to Paula Froelich, investigative journalist and one of the most reliably sourced reporters covering the Sussex story, Elton John sent back a message that was as clear as it was devastating. I am not an ATM. 3 words. From a man who loaned Harry private jets, who performed at his wedding, who stood behind the couple when they took their freedom flight away from the royal family, who donated to the now-defunct Archewell Foundation, who took it upon himself after Diana's death to be a godfather-like figure to her sons, and formed what multiple people close to both of them described as a genuine close bond. That man, after decades of friendship and financial support and public loyalty, has apparently reached his limit, and he reached it at the exact moment Harry needs him most, facing a legal bill that could reach £50 million after losing all 14 counts, all 97 claims, of the Daily Mail case. With Invictus Birmingham facing a significant fundraising shortfall, with no Netflix deal, no Spotify, no WME representation, and apparently no Elton John, Dan Wootton and Paula Froelich broke this story this week. And what they revealed goes far beyond one friendship ending. Welcome to the Marquee Report. This is the full financial catastrophe that is now surrounding Prince Harry, and why Elton John's no may be the moment everything changes. Let's establish the full history of the Elton John and Harry relationship, because understanding what has been given makes the refusal land harder. Elton John's connection to the Sussex story begins not with Harry, but with Diana. His friendship with Princess Diana was one of the defining personal relationships of both their lives. He performed at her funeral. He re-released Candle in the Wind in her memory. He was devastated by her death in a way that was entirely personal and entirely genuine. After Diana died, Elton took it upon himself to be present for her sons. A godfather-like figure is how Paula Froelich describes his relationship with Harry specifically. Not a formal appointment, a choice. A man who loved Diana, deciding that her children deserved someone outside the palace machinery who genuinely cared about them. That foundation of genuine feeling produced genuine support over years. The private jet loans to the south of France in 2019, to Ibiza, the wedding performance at Windsor Castle, which generated extraordinary global coverage and cultural goodwill for Harry and Meghan simultaneously, the donation to Archwell when it was still operational, the public backing that kept Elton John in the column of Sussex supporters long after many others had quietly stepped away. And then came the Daily Mail case. David Sherborne, the lawyer Elton John introduced Harry to, built a coalition of claimants, including Harry Elton John and Baroness Doreen Lawrence. They pursued 97 claims of alleged illegal information gathering against the Mail. The paper never settled. When the claimants tried to negotiate a settlement in December, the Daily Mail said absolutely not. We want everything public. And the trial proceeded to the verdict that has now upended everything. Here is the specific moment that sources say began the collapse of this friendship. Because it happened before the verdict, and it reveals something important about how Harry thinks about money and relationships. According to Paula Froelich's sources, Harry stopped by Elton John and David Furnish's place in the south of France on his way to London for the UK visit. This was before the verdict. He sat down with one of his oldest allies outside the royal world, and he asked for money, not for the legal costs, for Invictus Birmingham. Harry told Elton he needed a donation to close the fundraising gap at Birmingham. Harry feels John brought him into the whole lawsuit and therefore should help him out with Invictus. That is how the ask was framed. You got me into this legal situation, therefore you owe me support for my charity event. Elton was already aware at this point that he would be significantly on the hook for the majority of the legal bill if the claimants lost. He was looking at a scenario where he might need to pay tens of millions of pounds in legal costs. And Harry arrived asking for an Invictus donation on top of that. Elton said no. Harry was very hurt. Paula Froelich's analysis of this moment is the most revealing thing in the entire story. Elton John is not on a particular moral mission the way Harry is. He is a practical man who understands the media game. He worked with the Daily Mail on the serialization of his own autobiography, while simultaneously being a claimant in the case against them. Harry did not understand that. Harry could not separate Elton's practical media calculations from what Harry believed was a shared moral crusade. As Dan Wootton put it, Harry fundamentally misunderstood what this was all about for Elton John. Here is the moment that turned a difficult situation into a potential catastrophe. Because Harry made a decision after the verdict that nobody close to him apparently endorsed. After losing all 97 claims, Harry issued a statement attacking Justice Nicklin, not a measured response acknowledging the verdict and outlining next steps. An aggressive statement characterizing the judge's ruling in terms that multiple legal observers immediately described as reckless and potentially self-destructive.
Hey, I'm Elton John.
Elton John did not sign that statement. This detail is important. Everyone should be very clear on that, according to Wootton. It was Harry's statement, Harry's words, Harry's decision, and here is why that matters financially. Justice Nicklin has the power to uncap the costs awarded to the Daily Mail. The standard costs assessment has a ceiling, but when a losing party attacks the judge who ruled against them, the judge can remove that ceiling entirely. The costs battle hearing is scheduled for July 29th. Paula Froelich's read on the financial implications was direct. Harry's statement by itself could have cost Elton John $10 million, and as she put it with characteristic bluntness, I don't care how good of friends we are. If you cost me $10 million by not knowing when to shut your trap, we are not friends anymore. The statement that nobody asked Harry to make, that Elton did not endorse, that attacks a judge who now controls how much the Mail can recover, could be the single decision that defines what this case cost the people who trusted Harry enough to sign on to it. Here is the story that Wootton described as Harry boxing himself into an even worse corner, lost her son Stephen to a racist murder in 1993. Her campaign for justice over 2 decades became one of the most significant civil rights stories in modern British history. She did not need a Daily Mail court case. She did not need this. Harry's team persuaded her to join the lawsuit. According to Paula Froelich, the only reason she kept going with the case is because of Harry. He personally kept her in. He was at the trial. He left over lunch on the day Elizabeth Hurley was giving evidence, reportedly to shore up Doreen Lawrence's commitment to the case. And then, after the verdict, Harry briefed The Guardian that Doreen Lawrence would not have to pay any share of the costs. Nobody is going to see her out of pocket, said a source familiar with the matter. Are you paying Harry? Are you personally writing the check to cover Doreen Lawrence's share of potentially tens of millions in legal costs? Or are you generating positive Guardian headlines while expecting Elton John to fund it? Wootton's assessment was unambiguous. I would argue that it would be the latter. Because Harry is not a man who has proven willing to dip into his own pocket. The BBC Children in Need donation, £1.1 million announced with significant fanfare, turned out to come from the Glenn Begg Foundation, not from Harry personally. The positive publicity was Harry's. The money was someone else's. Here is the story that Dan Wootton called astonishing. And it deserves the full attention it has not received in mainstream coverage. Camilla Long is a star Sunday Times columnist, a tough, experienced journalist who covers the royal beat with the kind of specificity and confidence that comes from years of doing it properly. She is not someone easily intimidated. In her Sunday column, she revealed that on the first day of the trial, Harry's PR man, Liam Maguire, swaggered up to her in court to tell her that Harry did not like the tone of one of her pieces. She had suggested the prince might be a liar. She wrote that a group of activists had persuaded themselves it was necessary to do almost anything to bully whoever they wanted, to allege whatever they wanted, to use as much money as they wanted to crush a decent paper because they disagreed with it politically. No one was off limits, even journalists covering the case. Who is Harry to enforce what is acceptable to think and what is not? He does not even live here. That last line. He does not even live here. From a British journalist being harassed in a British courtroom by the PR team of a man who fled to California and has spent years telling everyone how much better life is there. Paula Froelich's verdict on Harry's PR operation was equally direct. She told Wootton she has been at the other end of the stick with Liam Maguire, that she told the American PR team she would never deal with him again, that if he wanted to lie, he could lie to someone else. Bully boy tactics in an open court against a senior journalist, while Harry simultaneously presents himself as a champion of press freedom. Here is the assessment that Paula Froelich delivered, and that royal observers say cuts to the heart of how Harry arrived at this situation. He has no concept of money. She said it plainly. To be fair, I have been hearing that Meghan was concerned about this case. She actually understands inflow-outflow bank accounts. Harry has no concept of it. I doubt he has ever carried cash. I doubt he carries cash right now. And he does not get that $20 million in the bank does not last very long when your expenditures are $5 million per year and you now have tens of millions of additional legal liability heading toward you. Meghan apparently tried to pull back. The claimants attempted to settle with the Daily Mail in December. The Mail said no, They wanted everything public, and the trial proceeded, apparently over Meghan's concerns about the financial exposure, because Harry was committed to the moral crusade and did not fully process what losing would actually cost. The anger that right now. Elton John told Harry he is not an ATM. A friendship built on Diana's memory and decades of genuine support has apparently broken under the weight of a legal case that lost on all counts and a statement attacking the judge who controls how bad the costs get. Doreen Lawrence, a woman who did not need any of this, is potentially on the hook for millions that Harry publicly promised to cover without apparently having the means to do so. Camilla Long revealed that Harry's PR team bullied journalists in open court during the trial. Meghan understood the financial risk and was apparently overruled. And the costs hearing that will determine exactly how bad this gets is scheduled for July 29th. Harry has no concept of money. He has never carried cash. He does not understand that $20 million in the bank disappears quickly when you are spending $5 million a year and now face tens of millions in legal liability. Elton John understood it perfectly, which is why he said no. The people who have been carrying Harry financially and reputationally one by one, are reaching the same conclusion. Enough. And each time one of them reaches it, the circle gets smaller, the options get fewer, and the July 29th hearing gets closer. This has been the Marquee Report. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. See you on the next one.